Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the smooth listening Jackrabbit Illustrated special edition episode, podcast, however you listen to us. If you're listening to us live, thanks for joining us. We are, as always, brought to you by the Kubota dealers of South Dakota. There are multiple locations all across the state, I believe 9 technically. As you can see, represented down below me, we've got a couple Kubota hats floating around here. We might be wearing more throughout the season, but thank you so much to Kubota dealers of South Dakota for being our title sponsor for the season. For the second year in a row. You guys are rock stars. We appreciate everything you guys do for us, helping us stay on the air. But this is our special edition podcast previewing the Missouri Valley Football Conference and how we think the dominoes are going to fall and how bad our preseason polls are going to look at the end of the season. So I will pass it off to the one, the only, the Podfather.
All right. Oh man, it is good to be back.
He was totally ready.
You guys.
He's in season form.
As always. Gosh, it is like we never left that bar in Frisco. You know, I mean, what is that
bar that will not be mentioned?
yeah, we're not giving any more free pub.
Bar
but it's like we just never left, you know. But except Dallas and Alex are with us this time. So
I was there for
and no one's wearing a hot dog costume.
No way.
Yeah, right.
Plenty of polls. We're going to talk about them.
Yeah, right. All right. So first, got to thank the Kubota dealers of South Dakota, like Brennan mentioned. You know, last year I complained, right? We were in a drought, never got to use it hardly. Open winter, never used it. This year I've mowed my yard probably more in the last 2 weeks than I did all of last summer. So it's running great. Easy to change the oil on. That's one thing that I've really appreciated. So I am not mechanically inclined like Chad. I need stuff that is easy to fix, easy to work on and handle. And that is definitely my Kubota BX 2680. Absolutely love it. Chad, you have one in your shop now too, right?
Well, it's in the garden shed right now, but yeah. It's
okay.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it's a hell of a mower, man. I can mow about twice the speed as I did with the old MTD. Get a lot of stuff done with that thing. The loader works really well. Use that to move some dirt and some rock around already. And snowblower is yet untested by me, but I guess we could ask John Calais. He used it last winter, so anyway.
Well, hopefully
you know why he was confused
this year, right? So
you know why he was confused. Kubotas are never in the shop because they don't break down.
He's wrong.
That's true.
Yeah, they are pretty reliable. That's true.
Yep. All right. So, Chad, do you have the inaugural Jackrabbit Illustrated preseason poll ready to go?
I just downloaded it. I will pull it up here. Let me grab it. Hold on.
All right. So this was something that just today Alex messaged our group and said, "Hey, what are we talking about tonight?" And I said, well, we should probably put a poll together. So send me your rankings. Brendan, who's notorious for absolutely hating preseason polls, obliged. Dallas got me his over his lunch break. Alex was right away. He was on top of it. He didn't have anything to do today. Chad, I think was sometimes during lunch, and Ben fit us in his busy schedule along the way. So, and then Jake, new member of the team, Jake Steffen, former Jackrabbit standout. Welcome, Jake. He's on vacation in the Black Hills, and he actually got me his at about 7 o'clock once he finally had reception again. So thanks, Jake. Hope you're having fun.
Nice. This was under protest. I don't like preseason polls. Boo.
Yeah, he was complaining about it before the show, honestly. So
we've made it this long though without football to talk about. Like, we need something to argue about, man. We need some controversy.
Yeah.
You gotta see who's
Chad, you getting it or what's going on?
Who's not.
I am. There's some issues. I'm working on it. Give me a hot
We're
second.
just gonna that's we tap dance. We'll keep talking. So another piece of housekeeping. So the introduction of Jake, which is awesome. And then we also are in the process of a website refresh right now. So if you've not been to jackrabbitillustrated.com, it's not quite done yet. Got to make sure that we get the sponsors pulled up and a few other things. But I don't know. I think it's looking pretty good. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, Dallas has put a ton of work in on that. So those of you that enjoy the blog, if you're listening to the show, you should all enjoy the blog and the work Matt, and not to toot my own horn, but myself, do over there a lot of the time. But the website itself, it's got podcasts and blogs, and Dallas has that thing looking phenomenal right now. I mean, it looks sweet. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Very professional.
we put the F in professional here. Matt, when are we going to start seeing some blog content this year?
Yeah, so camp starts next week, and that is traditionally when we start doing position previews. So I've been interviewing the coaches the last 2 weeks about the various positions and all of the players. Seth. So I'm writing those right now.
You get that? You get that question?
Powerful. Yeah, I'm gonna leave that one alone, as I normally do.
5 minutes. Luckily, this is like our first show of the season, so we have a lot of space to cover here, Chad.
Can we pull up?
It's showing up like a postage stamp, Matt. I'm trying to fix that. Sorry, that's the problem.
So, anyways, next week.
Am I allowed to say that something? We don't have to worry about his poll being too small. And
it's our poll, not my poll. Why am I always the butt of every joke? I don't get it. What did I do?
It's just kind of cold in Chad's room
Yeah, no, it's hot actually.
Oh my gosh.
I would be better off just to make a new one.
Oh, that'll be even better.
I have not. I want this on record, please, with the head of this deal that I.
Chad, can't you just share the Google sheet? Like,
I've got it open.
Yeah, maybe. I was trying to share the other thing. Yeah, go ahead and share it out.
Yeah, dude, just share the Google sheet. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, I thought you wanted just the one and not the rest of them. So.
Nah, we got them all flustered. No, we're going to be transparent. We're going to be transparent with our votes.
Oh, it's fine. Yeah.
We're going to show our votes.
We're going to show our votes.
And we'll give more
I'll
reason
get in on the joke now.
Because NDSU, unlike some certain unnamed FCS personalities that are old and passed by the Blue Bloods. And
did you get it, Alex?
Since I don't have my presenter rights currently, I think one of you guys gotta.
I'll do it. Hold on,
throw
I'll get
me
there.
up there, but I'm trying to.
This is preseason, folks. Preseason in action. Thank you for tuning in.
I'm stuck on your Kinkle model. That's the problem.
It shouldn't be showing yet.
I'll answer Scott's question. I never rehearse the intro. That's not a. That's I don't believe in rehearsal.
You didn't even do the right thing, so.
Everybody else thought it was the right thing. Nobody knows it's the wrong thing until
I say something.
You tell them.
That's true.
It's showing that you can edit.
Oh yeah. The beard's gone, Kevin. The beard's gone. It'll be back in football season. I got a newborn this year, so I like the feel of her cheek against my cheek when I hold her. So I don't have a beard right now.
That's awesome.
So that's the reason that the beard is still not making a comeback yet, because you only get to do that for so long. So
that is the best of reasons.
Probably the only one.
How is dad life, by the way? Or like dad life with a baby,
good.
Newborn life.
Well, here's what I tell everybody who asks, because I've got a 12-year-old, Taylin, and then now we've got Xena. And it's kind of like we've done this before with our dogs, where you have two well-behaved dogs, and you're like, "This will be easy. Let's get a third one." And then you get the young one that's not trained or anything yet, and you're like, "Oh God, this is what it was like." So it's a little bit like that, But it's great. Yeah. It's great. She's super strong. This might surprise people. She's tall, and all that jazz. She might be hanging out with me on the late night with Board show a couple times. So
your child is tall. What?
Yeah, I know. It's crazy, but yeah, she's tall and thin. I'm not that anymore, but she's got that.
Okay, folks, here it is. You get to see how the 7 of us voted in this. it is pretty clear that there are some tiers here. There's a top 2 tier. There is a next 4, probably. There is the what the heck are these guys doing here tier in UND and UNI, and then there are the bottom feeders that used to be Western Illinois, but now Murray State has kind of taken their place, and we all shuffled them around. Brendan, I'm a little interested to eventually hear your take on Murray State. That's very interesting to me. You have them much higher than everyone else. So,
well, yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there when we get there.
We'll get there. So, all right, Alex or Chad, can you scroll down to just the JI standings?
It's me.
Full one here.
Say Chad's driving.
Okay. All right. So there it is. SDSU has 4 first place votes. NDSU 3. SIU. What is that? What's next?
58 points.
58 points. 0.
All right, and then
Get out the cheaters.
Illinois State, UND, UNI, Missouri State, Murray State, and Indiana State. I wanted to put Indiana State higher, but they've just been so bad the last few years. So bad. So, I don't know. In general, some very general overview thoughts that I had on this as I was kind of looking through teams. You know, I knew the Valley was losing a lot of big-time seniors last year, but I was pretty shocked by like the loss of senior quarterbacks and how few familiar faces there are that are just leading their teams under center. So that's something to watch besides obviously SDSU, NDSU, and USD. So that's something I'm paying attention to. Any other general thoughts, guys? What are you thinking when you look at the Valley just from a wide lens?
That 3 through 6 this year is going to be really fun. I don't think there's a lot of separation between those teams. I think there's going to be some really good, really close games. So if you don't pay attention to the Valley outside of the Jacks, you should. And this year's a very good year to do that. There's going to be a lot of fun, close, interesting football games in kind of that 3 to 6, 3 to 7 band there.
So in that group, what you're talking about, you got Southern Illinois, you got USD, Youngstown, and Illinois State.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I tend to agree, and those are the ones I think I had the most trouble with trying to put in there. And I don't know at what point we want to go back through things. I think that a lot of people in the group had USD a lot higher than I do, and I'm looking forward to talking through them a little bit more here as things go on. But 100%, I mean, how they play each other. And one thing that I'm curious is I didn't go through and actually look at head-to-head matchups between those groups.
Yeah, when I look at that group there, it's either you go from USD, who lost a lot from what I personally feel was their strongest side of the ball by far. So how well do they replace them? A lot of teams that either lost a lot to the portal, brought in a lot from the portal, have young quarterbacks, unproven quarterbacks. You know, how's that going to work out? So I think that's what makes that such a muddy middle is we don't know because it's the preseason. So putting together a poll is a guess. And you should write preseason polls, not even on paper anymore with the transfer portal. You should write it on toilet paper so you can flush it away because we're going to pretend we know. We have no idea. But when you look at that middle, I do think there will be some separation, but historically going back the last couple of years, there's always, I think there was the top 3 last year was actually the top 6 because there's 3 teams tied for 3rd in the conference or something like that. My biggest prediction, almost a guarantee, is even though I have Youngstown State as 3rd in my poll, they will end up on the bubble and their fans will complain about getting left out and or another Valley team that gets left out, and they'll be very loud about it on Twitter. That's my lock. I know will happen. I can guarantee it. This is my best guesstimate.
I love their passion, though. Love the Youngstown fans' passion.
God bless them. I do.
Yeah,
they're into it, man.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, Alex, do you want to kind of pull up, or you said going, yep, there we go. Perfect.
So,
walk us through what we're seeing there.
So what we got here, I spent way too much of my free time the last month and a half, as embarrassing as that is to say, throwing this together. So this is the Kinkle model, I guess, as Tom Neiman decided.
My name's on the other side of the screen.
What's that?
No, sorry, nothing. Just responding to my wife's comment.
Oh, sorry. So we've got, basically, I ran through every possible outcome of every team season, and I charted it out. So what you're looking at here is the bar graphs is under each category of wins here. Can't see my cursor because I'm pointing on the presenting screen. Under each category of wins here, that is the probability. So Indiana State, we're looking at, they have a 3.34% chance of having a 1-win season. Then in the left here, we have their schedule with the individual win probabilities of every game. Only thing to note about this is those of you that are longtime viewers of Scared Money Don't Make Money, those that are new here might not know though. My quote-unquote model isn't so much a model as it is a aggregation of Sagarin and Massey, and then I've got my own formulas I use to kind of perfect that data, in my own opinion.
Well, people who watch Midco too, that's where the Kenkel model was dubbed the Kenkel model.
That's
so
right.
Thank you, Tom Neiman.
It kind of sounds like an old lady with large calves, though, if I'm being honest. Is that what is she modeling? Is that like a type of model, like a hand model? It's a Kenkel model. Sorry.
I will only ever think that now, Chad.
You're welcome. I've thought it for far too long.
We're going to make a logo for that.
Before we dive into this all here, the only thing to note is Sagarin is not updated for the season yet. So this is actually roughly 2/3 predictive for this year, 1/3 data based upon last year. But college football, most of us know that's not the end of the world. Programs are programs for a reason, especially at the college level, because they recruit and develop well, especially at the FCS level. So without further ado, I figured we'd just walk through the teams backwards here as they were at the MVFC media poll. And then we can look at each team's odds and then talk about anything specific to each team that we have kind of want to keep an eye on this year. I guess I can start with the trees here. I just had a couple notes. So they had 3 starting quarterbacks last year. 2 were gone. The one that did play last year was Elijah Owens. He was a true freshman last year. He got his 4 starts. He was pretty shaky, but he's a true freshman playing in the Valley. That's to be expected. Their coach was really high on him in his media day interview. He thinks he's going to be pretty good. Only other comment I had is the Trees lost a lot on what's an otherwise pretty bad team, so I don't really – we'll call a spade a spade. They're going to be bad this year. But they do get, as we see at the top, their Butler and Mississippi Valley State in the out-of-conference. You couldn't have – too much easier out of conference games on your schedule, so they'll hopefully win at least 2 games, I guess.
Yeah, with the loss of some really key defenders, some veterans on the other side, their running back Justin Dinka is gone, I believe too. He hit the portal. So I just, Kurt Mallory, that one time they came to Brookings and really challenged the team. Remember that? And there's like that big shootout.
Yep.
And we all thought, or I thought for sure, Indiana State had turned a corner. They were a program on the rise, and they just can't get out of their own way right now. What a mess. Where do you start with a program like this?
Yeah.
They're back where they were, and then Mallory had that couple years of momentum where they almost made the playoffs. Probably should have made the playoffs if I remember right. The one year it felt like they got snubbed just because they're Indiana State, and they're just back to what they were, and every conference has cellar dwellers, and you need a cellar dweller somewhere, and that's just Indiana State's role. I guess I don't know.
Yeah, right.
It's easy to see looking at all the red. They basically look like they'll win 2 games for sure, and that's about it.
It's amazing to me that the game at number 25 Eastern Illinois is one of their higher percent chances compared to some bad teams like Missouri State. Are we going to talk about somebody giving Missouri State a first place poll vote in the official poll? Like,
we can talk about that.
What?
Yeah. Do you think can media members vote for their own team? Do you think Wyatt Wheeler just did it to be funny?
I think it had to have been Wyatt Wheeler's walk-off shot. Just
yeah.
Double bird to everybody, just walking off.
I mean, I can see Wyatt doing that, just his personality. Like,
yes.
Like,
yeah.
Get mad about it. Who cares?
Gosh.
I wasn't even mad about it. I'm like, oh my God, that's funny.
Yeah, it's just funny. Yeah. All right. Who's next? Oh, all right.
The Racers.
Are you going through it, Alex?
I can start again too.
Yeah.
So
it's your model.
I don't want to take everyone else's talking points, but so they got new first-year head coach Jody Wright. This is his first head coaching job. He hasn't even been a coordinator before, but he has a lot of P4 and NFL experience, which is probably why he got the job. Two interesting notes I have for Jacks fans. Former Sioux Falls, Washington quarterback Jaden Johansson transferred there from South Dakota School of Mines. He started every game for the Hard Rockers the last 3 years. Wright spoke highly of him at Media Day and expects him to compete for the starting job. The other note I had on that kind of goes hand in hand is Murray State's new quarterback coach is Zeb Noland, who a lot of you'll know for playing for the Bison. Zeb and Johansson were actually teammates. Johansson's true freshman year when he was originally in Fargo. So that kind of just adds a little fuel to probably going to see Johansson start. I'm kind of curious on Murray. I'm not like going to go out and bet the house that they're going to win a lot of games. But like Kevin says, they definitely have the potential to sneak up on a few people this year.
Watch out if he isn't better than Zeb Nolan.
My take, I really like Jaden Johansson personally. I liked him out of high school. It just didn't work out to get him here in Brookings. And, he spent that year up in Fargo, transferred out to play. Like you said, Alex had a very successful career out there. So kudos to him for looking for a D1 opportunity. And so I expect him to get the starting spot. I mean, just his maturity. That's a program that needs some stability. And I guess he's going to do it for a year. And I think he'll be okay. I did not make that connection that they were teammates at NDSU. Good job on that. But
data taker, man.
Yeah. In general, though, like this is another program, Murray State, that is in such a weird spot geographically. Tanner Castora brought this up last year, that you're recruiting against so many different schools in that area that it's going to be really hard to ever get your footing, truly. I mean, they had so many transfers out this last year. I mean, they lost their quarterback to Southern Illinois, right? And they lost all sorts of their other best players to low-tier FBS and other FCS schools. So it just, like, I don't know how you ever, build success at a place like this where you're just continually getting robbed by other better FCS schools in the area and low-tier FBS schools. I don't know.
Yeah, for a Murray State, maybe I guess I'm enamored with them because they're new. And the horse. I mean, they have a horse race around the track. If you're going to have a track, race a damn horse around it when you score a touchdown, by God. And God bless them for doing it. I love it. But it's
the only acceptable reason to have a track, right?
Yeah. Yeah. If you're going to have a track, make it a racetrack during the games then. Otherwise, no tracks. You don't count as a team if you have a track around your field. Yeah, I said it. You don't count as a stadium if you're a dome either. Kibby Dome. So you don't get to be on the top stadium list. You're a tin can. Sorry, I'm not sorry.
Half buried in the ground.
Yeah, off of that tangent. I don't know. Murray State did such a good job. They really surprised me last year. I thought they were going to be a absolute dumpster fire and get just canned by everybody, and they didn't. They really didn't. They did a good job compared to what I thought they were going to do. They really surprised me. I'm hoping. I know they've had a lot of turnover. This might be a little bit of a protest vote about preseason polls and just throwing somebody up there because somebody is going to come up and just not make sense. And it happens every year. There's a team that you don't think should comes up, has a good season, whether it's Missouri State or Indiana State or even Western Illinois once in the blue moon or whatever. Some bottom dweller has a solid year for no explicable reason. So I'm kind of picking Murray State to do that just with the lack of familiarity of some teams with travel, everything else. I think that'll help them. So I'm guessing they snag a couple extra wins that they shouldn't. I hate their schedule. Why are you scheduling 2 FBS teams like
Two
that?
ranked,
To me,
2 ranked SEC teams.
Yeah, that shouldn't. I'm gonna say this with my whole
They
chest.
want the money.
That should not be allowed. If you're gonna be in this conference, you don't get to do that. If you want to be a broke ass team that needs to whore out for money, go play in the Big South or the CAA. I mean, they probably half of their teams do that now, anyways, because they're a joke as well. But God, if you're gonna do that, go pick a different conference. You're embarrassing. You're embarrassing us. You know, the only reason I'm forgiving you is the horse that runs around the thing. But this is seriously, and I genuinely mean this. This is unacceptable. It makes sense don't put me whole screen for this. But,
I didn't do that.
But
Well played, Matt.
God, if you're playing with the big boys now, act like the big boys. You're in the Valley, act like a Valley team. You know who never did this that I remember? If they did, I just forgot because they were terrible. Western Illinois didn't even do this that I remember. This is something that you do if you're in a broke conference with no money and don't mind embarrassing yourselves. Stop it. You're not in the OVC anymore. This probably is unfair for me to dig on them for because they just came from the OVC and the schedule is probably set up. Those games were probably scheduled before they came from the OVC. So maybe I shouldn't be so hard on them, but this is no more. You're done. No. Don't do this anymore. You're embarrassing yourself. You're embarrassing us by association. Stop it. So
Yeah,
that's
I'm excited to see
tirade.
I'm excited to see what they bring, though. I'm just curious to see a new team. Definitely not sad to see the Leathernecks go because they brought nothing to the party and just got boring. And we never
At
played
least
them
they're
anyway,
good colors.
So, yeah, I don't even know.
Well, you have them finishing above the Fighting Who and you and I. Boy, you and I is going to have a terrible season according to Brendan.
The Prairie Raid, I'm not invested in it.
Yeah, well, they
the
don't play.
first
They
year.
don't play outside, right?
Right.
No,
I don't
no.
care. The
I
Prairie
know.
Raid. Yeah, you and I does have 2 FBS games this year too. Well, that's a whole different. Well, I'll get into the damn.
We'll get there.
That,
All right.
I
That
don't blame
will
the
be a
program.
rant
I blame their
later.
administration.
All right. Before we go on to Missouri State, we need to thank Cubby's Sports Bar and Grill. John
playing on the
Colley.
rooftop there.
Yeah, John Colley mentioned that we're on the rooftop right now. So shout out to Cubby's. They've been introducing all sorts of new menu items. They have some new nachos that I just saw they've been promoting. Not the what are the nachos you guys like?
J.I. Italian nachos.
The J.I. Italian nachos.
Yeah, what do you mean? What nachos do we like?
He just
Italian
wanted me to
nachos.
say J.I. Italian nachos.
Yeah, there we go. So thank you, Cubbies, for coming back for another season. Appreciate your support and appreciate everyone getting down to Cubbies, whether it's for the coaches show or to watch a game or just to enjoy a night out and some food and a drink. So thanks, Cubbies. All right, next, Alex.
So next would be Missouri State. Only interesting note I had on them because they suck and they're going to the CUSA, which is the worst conference.
The FBS Missouri State, Alex.
Okay.
You didn't
Okay,
announce them
Dallas.
properly. Give them the
Dallas.
respect they deserve. Sorry.
Only note I had on that note is so with their transfer, their 2-year transfer, they're not eligible for postseason and in the FCS this year or FBS next year. But then the conference championship is left up to the conferences. The Missouri Valley is going to let them contend for the conference title this year, whereas CUSA is not going to let them contend for the title next year. So at Media Day, Coach Ryan Beard said they're actually going to save all their red shirts for next season when they cannot go to the postseason or the conference title game. And they're going to play their guys this year, while they could still potentially win a conference championship.
Yeah, I don't see either one of those
their locker room
having
wall.
a chance.
I don't know.
I'm going to send a screenshot of you doing that down to Missouri State just so they put it on the wall because that'd be hysterical.
We play them last
Alex.
game of the year.
I don't know. Missouri State, again, lost a lot to the transfer portal. Raylan Sharp's gone. Their other quarterback is gone. defensively graduated a number of guys that they had on a defense that wasn't terrible, but wasn't great either. I don't know. Like I thought last year, Alex, you were kind of on the Missouri State train for a while last year, but I mean, they just never really materialized. I don't know.
I liked pieces. They just didn't gel well. Jordan Pacho, who is the backup, who got the starting job after Jacob Clark got hurt. That's how FBS they are, is their starting quarterback went to transfer to go start at a UAC school. What are we doing here?
Doing UAC stuff, obviously. UAC, yeah. Does it bother you that they're going up to FBS a little bit, Alex? Is that sticking in your craw, buddy? It's you say that.
They have to live in
full
Springfield,
disclosure.
Missouri.
There's a guy I got in one of my way too many Twitter arguments with earlier this week trying to say the CUSA is better than the Missouri Valley. That is where my animosity is coming from.
He wound up. Hey, you know what? If you're going to suck, you might as well make it expensive. So.
Right? why go run the back of the B-mods and you can go run back of the sprint cars? Chad's the only one that'll get that reference, but
something about cars that go fast. Right?
I got a feeling.
Unless you're driving a 305, and in that case, they're not. It's like watching paint dry. So, whatever.
Yeah, all right.
Stock car shit.
Let's go. All right. These guys are quitting. We've talked about them long enough. Let's move on.
Yep.
Too much attention.
That's all the time you get, Missouri State, you cowards.
Last game of the season, though. That is right. I am interested in that game. So last game of the season is where we play down there. Plaster's just a weird place to play sometimes. Weird shit happens down there. Fast track.
It's true.
I mean,
you mean like their field's bad and we're not able to play on it?
No, it's not a bad field. It's just it is
COVID. Sorry.
Yeah, right. It's just an interesting space.
Chase Mason's going to go for 350 and 4 down there.
Book it.
All right. So, anyways, that's just a game to watch. I'm interested in it.
And then we come to the Panthers. So I did have that note in my notes, Seth. They've got 2 FBS games this year, Nebraska and Hawaii. Kind of different.
Way different than playing 2 SEC's teams.
Hawaii is not playing a ranked team. Hawaii, I don't talk too much crap on Hawaii. I kind of like Hawaii. Other notes I had, Jared Pennig, much like brother Trevor, legit O-line prospect if you're watching some UNI games this year. New OC Luke Falk, who brought the spread to UNI, is gone. He had a family situation, evidently. So wide receiver coach Joel Falani has been named interim head coach, but Farley has not committed to him calling the plays. He said he's going to give some of the other position coaches a chance to call plays and fall ball, and he'll go from there. Only other thing I had is Sam Schnee is gone. He was leader Missouri Valley receiving yards last year.
So are we going to see him really throw all over the R. Kelly turf down there?
Well done, sir.
That's brilliant. Well, yeah, I don't think so. Maybe if their OC didn't have to dip out, then maybe they'd have thrown all over the yard. I have a hard time seeing Farley let it get too much like that. I don't have the rant on UNI like I do with Murray because I feel bad for UNI as a program and their fans. Just with their last AD was a joke, and you could see that when I mean, when you get an interim AD in and all of a sudden money starts screaming into the program, it tells you a lot about what the last AD was, and the fact he stayed employed is just impressive. So I feel a little bad. I
West Jim without him.
Yeah. Bring that up around some UNI fans once, and you then just pop some popcorn and sit there for a while because they will lose it. But I have a lot of respect for Coach Farley. Honestly, I do think he is a solid coach. He did a lot of things very well, and then when you look at what's happened to him down there a little bit, it feels like his legs got chopped out from under him by the admin. So it is what it is. Not going to dig on him too much because Hawaii being scheduled yeah, it's an FBS game in name. You know, the trip is what makes that difficult. It's not like it's not nearly the same as playing the number 8 team in the country and then another top 25 team that's also in the SEC. Like that's not the same thing. But yeah, I don't expect them to have a good season, especially you lose an OC mid change of offensive scheme and you were one thing and now you're halfway to another thing. UNI is that team that would make me look like an ass and have a great season out of nowhere just because it feels like that'd be something they do. They always have talent.
Man, they'd have to have some people come out of the woodwork.
Yeah.
Though. I'm confused on the scheme change. Like when you look at, again, preseason all conference lists don't mean anything. You got one first team that's an O lineman, a Penning. You've got 2 defensive players on the second team, and that's it. So obviously clearly I'm sure they got athletes, but there's a lot of question marks that they got coming back.
Yeah, I mean, losing Theo Day, right? We all expected Theo Day to be awesome last year. He just wasn't. He wasn't the 2022 version of Theo Day, probably.
The turnovers were just terrible.
Right?
I mean, they thought he had pro potential and
exactly
flop.
Quit touching stuff, Alex.
So, I mean, their good linebackers are gone. Woo Governor's gone. Their big defensive linemen are gone. Like I'm worried about, like the comment was made, UNI's defense is always good, and they probably will be. There's going to be new names that we learn, but they lost a ton of talent on that side of the ball this year. So we'll see.
If they do as poorly as we think they might, is this the year that Farley gets ran out of town?
It'd be dumb. Maybe
it would be dumb. I agree. I'm with Brendan on it, but there are people that have called for his job with a middle of the pack season not that long ago.
I think that Farley's been there long enough that he'd be allowed to go out on his own terms for as far as leaving. At least I'd hope so. I do feel like if you look back at his career, I mean, dude's had a hell of the only thing he's missing is a national title. But yeah, I don't think he gets run out of town, but it might be the year he hangs it up. I don't know.
I don't want to dwell on these guys too long, but it's an interesting start because you got 2 games that they should sure as hell win in Valpo, and they're at St. Thomas, which is hysterical to me.
Goes back to the AD.
Well, a little bit, that's funny, but on the same token, that's not outside of playing in the dome. They do recruit the cities quite a bit, and why not play in St. Thomas? The crowd will probably have a healthy amount of UNI fans there anyways. And I think it was a 2-for-1, but I don't remember. I think it's a big step for them to even get a couple Patsy wins and they're out of conference. They've always scheduled ridiculous out of conference. So I don't think it's an awful idea for them. I'd be mad if it was us.
Yeah, because then they go right into the meat grinder with the 2 FBS. Again, Hawaii FBS, finger quotes, but, 2 tougher games there. Bye. And then they go, all right, then they got us. They got the Jacks. They got USD, which I can't wait to talk about them. I do not think they're as good as rumored this year. I think then they're at UND. I think that's a winnable game for UNI.
Except for it's at UND.
Yeah, that's true. That's always a tough place to play. But I think UND is going to be in a rough spot this year. And then Missouri State. So, I mean, they could rattle off some wins if they get some confidence.
Yeah, if they get on a roll, I could definitely see that happening. And they always tend to play FBS teams tough. So I could see them giving Nebraska a run. I definitely can see them beating Hawaii. If it wasn't for playing us coming off the bye, I would actually kind of like that Hawaii game being there with the bye afterwards. So you have time to readjust to everything.
Have to.
But otherwise, yeah, 3. I mean, you look at that schedule. You want to talk about what their admin's been doing in the program. Look at that schedule. Could you imagine if we had 3 out of conference road games? And
only 5.
I mean, they have 5 home games in a 12-game season.
It's an easy way to not make money.
That is 6. Well, that's just not setting your program up for success. That's just scheduling yourself out of the playoffs.
Matt, you're muted.
You're muted, Matt.
I didn't mute him. You got to unmute yourself.
Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
I muted myself. Preseason, folks. Sorry. I mean, Chad, when we were at the Dome a couple of years ago, right? I mean, that thing was in rough shape down there.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so I
The
mean,
turf looked terrible.
yeah,
Like it always does.
but even the restrooms, right? The restrooms were bad. The concessions were bad. The concourses were narrow. Like, it just was rough. Like, rough shape.
The whole thing kind of had a we're letting it slide and go downhill vibe.
Yeah.
Like the give a shit just wasn't really visible.
Yep. And if you're doing what did we say? 5 home games, like on a 12-game schedule, like that's not cool. And can you imagine, guys, like you're going to play Nebraska, who's going to be tough. Like they're not going to be like Nebraska of old, but they're going to be a good team this year. That's going to be a physical matchup. Like UNI is going to be hurting after that. And then you have to take this long ass flight out to Hawaii. Like that's rough, man, alive. I mean, if I was UNI, I'd leave some of your guys home if they're even sort of dinged up. Like let them rest. Don't make them sit on that plane. I don't know.
But who's going to want to miss a trip to Hawaii, right? I mean,
That's true.
You got to have at least one day of like
screw around,
free
especially
time.
with the bye week.
I mean,
after.
it's in season. I don't know that there would be. But I guess it's coming out of a bye. All right. So we talked about Cubbies and how awesome they are. Another sponsor we've got is Jackrabbit Central. And we are proudly sponsored by Jackrabbit Central. They are the go-to source for South Dakota State University gear. Whether you're looking for the latest apparel, accessories, gifts, or have anything you're looking for to show off your Jackrabbit pride, you can find Jackrabbit Central at 2 convenient locations on campus and in downtown Brookings, right near Cubbies. Visit jackrabbitcentral.com today to explore their wide selection and gear for the season. Go Jacks.
And now with Batman clothes.
Was that a script? Did
Yeah,
you write a script?
No, I did that off top of his head.
What was that?
Chat GTP is a wonderful thing, fellas.
We're media. We are media. We didn't read. What's media?
Eat that,
I did
Sean.
it, dude. I did it on the last show. I did all reads.
I thought your reads were great last show. Now I know why.
That's
Oh
why
my god!
I gave away my secret on air. Damn it.
All right.
All right.
Brendan was saying, if you don't
Penguins.
tell anybody, nobody knows.
All right, Penguins. Let's roll.
Next, we got Youngstown. My notes on these guys are pretty brief. They had kind of a revolving door in the portal on the back end of their defense, which was a weakness last year. They kind of had 6 or 7 guys, both in and out. Tyshawn King, who led the Valley in regular season rushing, will be back for them. And then quarterback Mitch Davidson and top wide receiver Bryce Oliver are both gone. But second wide receiver, who is also explosive player, Max Tomzak, he will be back in their pass game. We'll probably have to rely on him. They've hearing their coach talk, Doug Phillips. They got 2 or 3 guys they're pretty big on kind of all giving snaps this fall. So be interesting to see how that quarterback battle shapes out once again on this team as well.
I didn't listen to that, Alex. Did he say, are they going to choose one or are they doing a rotation?
I think it sounds like they're going to choose that. So if you look at the schedule, that's kind of the crapper of the deal is you got to go to Villanova, who I think is going to be a very good team this year. Right away, week 1. I mean, you don't have time to figure it out, unfortunately. That's a game you need to win if you want a top 16 seed, because remember this year, top 16 seeds, automatic home game.
Yeah,
Brendan.
Go ahead, Chad.
I was just going to say, Brendan, you're pretty high on YSU in your poll. Maybe unpack that for us.
Oh, you want like a position by position thing? All right, here we go. Let me pull up my notes.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. If you got it.
So,
We've got Youngstown fans. This was not scripted, folks. I couldn't have played it better.
no, I don't have position by position. So I'll clue everybody in. Normally, if I were to do a poll like this, I would go through team by team, go through every schedule like Alex did, who's put in the appropriate amount of time and effort, and gone through and gone, all right, this is a good game. Oh, they're coming on because it's college football. A lot of this stuff matters, right? Like who you played the week before. Are you on the road? Did the quarterback's girlfriend sleep with wide receivers or something like that? You don't, anything can affect college football stuff like that. And so you go through, and I'd have gone game by game for every team and then really got into it. As Matt said, he was like, hey, give me your polls. I didn't have a poll ready. He had harangued me about it this afternoon. So, just listening through, like I said, I really feel that 3 through 6 is such a jumbled mess. I think they're good enough to beat like USD. I think that Villanova game is the one that's going to be tricky. And you got to remember here too, if I remember right, we're going conference, and that's conference wins is what I was going off of. And I didn't go through game by game or come out with a record for them. Looking at this, I don't like what I did, because you're at Illinois State, at Southern Illinois, at SDSU. You get USD at home. That's a win. UND, I don't think they needed to play at home to win.
They avoid NDSU though.
Avoid NDSU. That's favorable. The thing that kills me is this is finally the year they schedule somebody with a pulse out of conference, and it ends up being the year that Villanova is going to be really goddamn good. And it's the year that, and they're opening with that, and it's on the road. Like, they've had years of just Valpo, Duquesne, and Butler, and like that's been their out of conference, and then a non-winnable FBS game like Ohio State or something.
So hold on, I don't know that I agree with you being pessimistic looking at the schedule here. I've got them 5th.
My bad, Whitetown.
Yeah, and there's gonna be a snarl right in that group where it's gonna be a bunch of it's gonna be tied for 4th or whatever anyway. And you look at that, okay, right. So you got 2 W's in Valpo and Duquesne. Missouri State win, Indiana State win. Jacks, like I'm glad we're not playing there, because that place always scares me for some reason, just as a fan. USD, I think that is completely winnable for these guys. UND at their place, totally winnable. Then you have a bye late to get healthy.
No, they don't have a bye all season. Yep, they got the 2022 treatment that we got last.
Oh, gotcha. I'm sorry. So,
Alex.
So that hurts, but you're going into the end, your last 3 games against basically 2 of the 3 teams you're going to be fighting with for a position. You got Illinois State. Who knows if they'll fold by then or not, or what they've got. SIU is going to be tough, and then UNI is a winnable game. So I don't know. I mean, 7's not off the table.
Yeah, I got them going 7-5 with 4 wins basically guaranteed. So that basically matches what Alex has up here.
And I do think 7 to 8 wins gets 3rd place.
I don't know anything about Pitt this year either. At Pitt FBS.
Yes.
But one of the Youngstown accounts posted the historical matchups with Pitt. And I know that doesn't matter to this year's outcome, but historically, Youngstown has actually played Pitt really tough, like within a score or 2. Like, it's not blowout city. And so anything can happen with that. Pitt's not typically a great FBS school. And who knows what this new quarterback for them can do. My big question for Youngstown is the defense again. They just lost so many pieces for a unit that was playing pretty good ball at times last year. Alex, you mentioned the secondary, but the defensive line too, to graduation, to transfer portal. And I know a lot of the Youngstown accounts, again, have been kind of happy that a lot of those guys have moved on, because they think they have some really good young players that are going to step up on the defensive line. We'll see. Like, the Missouri Valley is not always super friendly to young talent in the trenches. So we'll see how that goes.
In case you're actually wondering, Pitt finished 84th on the Sagarin last year, which is terrible. Again, no idea what they're bringing back, but that ends up being, you can knock off teams in that range for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, I would look at Pitt as a winnable game for a Valley team, not necessarily one that I would lock them in for. And that's the thing with preseason polls. If this was week 5, then okay, I feel a lot better about these games that look like swing games and we don't know for sure. I think they win the USD and UND games are locks. I think those are stone cold dead lead pipe locks. Most State, I think, is a lock. Indy State's a lock. It's the Illinois State and Southern Illinois that concern me. So, because they're on the road.
Yeah. These guys just play Southern Illinois tough, though. Like, for whatever reason. I don't know.
Yeah, they beat them
allegedly.
38-3 last year, kind of out of nowhere.
Oh, yeah. So you say.
What's that mean?
What? All right, hold on. We got to acknowledge. Acknowledge the comment
too much
here.
stuff, Dallas. Ignore me.
No, I was just gonna say. I think we got to acknowledge the comments coming in from the Y-Town account. They beat SIU 3 straight years. I did not realize that. And then the comment is, truly think Nova is the tougher one of the two games, meaning Nova or Pitt, which is interesting. Can't disagree. I don't know, much of anything about Pitt right now, but I like our chances better versus Pitt, to be honest, based on what Matt just said. So, all right.
You make it to Hobo Day this year, Y-Town, let us know. You might not enjoy the football game, but we'll make sure you got a good time.
Yeah.
We'll make sure you don't remember it at least.
Don't remember the football game.
And honestly, hit us up on Twitter. Hit Matt's account up on Twitter. We're serious about that.
We'll find you.
Yes,
meet other
absolutely.
FCS folks.
100%.
All right, next.
So I'm going to open the floor with this next one because as you saw in our poll, and you guys have access to my notes, I share with all you guys, I am incredibly high on Illinois State, so maybe I'll let you guys lead off, and then I'll clean up what you don't touch on.
Bold of you to think I can read, sir.
I'm not as high on them. I have them as the lower to mid tier, personally. But
they're in that rat's nest.
Go ahead.
They're in that rat's nest we talked about. I do have them fourth in mine, and biggest reason is the number of studs they got coming back, and their how many preseason all-conference folks do they have. And again, that doesn't necessarily indicate performance, but it does tell you that there's a lot of people that played a lot of ball coming back, because that's the only way you get on that. So first team, you got running back in King, got a wide receiver, an O-lineman, linebacker. Second team, DL, DB, linebacker. You got people at all three levels. And then 5 honorable mentions on both sides of the ball, or split between both sides of the ball. So, I mean, they've got experience for sure.
Hey, who's the tackle that was on there? He's getting all sorts of draft pub.
Zambrano? Hunter Zambrano.
Zambrano. He's a good player. Yeah. So, I don't know. I liked Mason King last year. Mason Blakemore, formerly known as, changed his name. So, I mean, he's a hard runner, shifty. If again, who ends up being the quarterback? I don't know. Tommy Rittenhouse didn't impress me, obviously, when he came to Brookings the one time. But who knows? That's been a long time ago. He could have improved. So I don't know. Illinois State could be all right. Sobkowitz is the real deal. I really like him at wide receiver. Was that last year he gave Dyshawn some grief, I think?
He was on Beanham a lot of the night. But yeah, I mean, we all obviously know how good Dallas Beanham is. And Dallas struggled with him all night. I mean, pretty bad.
Have we confirmed Annexstad's out of eligibility?
Yes.
Just want to make sure, because he's been, I think he's my age.
Yeah.
He might be.
He is playing at Minnesota when you were at SDSU, Dallas.
Very well
got a kid graduating high school soon.
He could have been, could have been on the team with his kid. Anybody that is just listening to this, which awesome, thank you. But you should head to YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, I guess. Check out one of our accounts and watch this, because as we're going through these slides, like Alex explained at the beginning, he's got win percentage by number of wins for each team, and it's really interesting to see where that peaks. So this one you've got what, 6? Is the
38.8% at 6, but you can see kind of the higher end of the percentage is on the positive side of that.
Yep. Yeah, so this one's the most interesting to me, because there's not much to the right, less wins than 6, but there's, a decent chance at 7, 8, or 9. So we will see.
And this is the swing when they're off of our schedule. We don't see them. One thing looking at this schedule right now, Iowa, right? We saw how physical Iowa plays 2 years ago. Illinois State does not have the depth that we have as a program. They just don't at this point in their program. Any key injuries, if Mason Blakemore or whatever goes down, I mean, they're in trouble. Like, they are in big trouble as a team, as an offense. So I would just watch that game. Illinois State, just get out of there without having any catastrophic injuries. Like, that would be my key to the game in that one.
So just to kind of, and I didn't mean to cut anyone else off that thoughts, but like I said, I had a lot of notes on these guys, as you guys saw. To round up what you guys all said, Mason, the artist formerly known as Mason Blakemore, now Mason King. He was second in yards per carry to only Isaiah Davis last year in the Missouri Valley. They bring back 4 of their 5 offensive line starters, including Zambrano, who we talked about is getting draft talk. Amir Abdullah, returning All-American, led the Valley in sacks last year. He's going to lead that defense. I didn't think their defense was that bad last year. You listen to Brock Spack's media availability. He was very down in the mouth on how their defense played last year. He expects much better. If there's anything that anyone knows that's watched Valley football, a Brock Spack coach team is going to play good defense. We touched on Sobkowitz. That kid is unreal. We've got one of the most underrated secondaries, I think, if that's even possible. But he gave us fits last year. I mean, that kid's for real. I'm curious to see if Rittenhouse can make a step. I think that's really their key to unlocking this team this year is if Tommy Rittenhouse can take that next step. He's already had some playing experience. Has been okay. He's been, I don't even know you could call him a game manager. He's been okay. If he can unlock the next step in his game, this team will be very good next year. I'll go on record as saying that.
Interesting. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what they are.
I just have a hard time believing in Illinois State. I don't know. Since they lost Robinson, they've had a lot of years where they've looked good, looked like they were going to be really good, and then just kind of fizzle out. And they end up having a game where they go to like NDSU, play them super tough, and then drop games they shouldn't. Like, I won't be surprised if they're the team that Murray State ends up beating for some reason because it's on the road. And then for whatever reason, the season spirals after that. I believe a lot in despite my feud with the Kenkel model, it's not known, but me and your model are not on speaking terms ever since Coach Rogers walked up to us and said, why do you guys even have scared money don't make money? Just listen to the model. So it is my life goal to bury the model this year. I'm going to just destroy it. I want to beat the model so badly that Alex is questioning whether he should do it again next year.
Jeez.
And in other words, we know Coach watches your show.
Yeah, I try to forget that part of it.
Moment.
I don't.
Oh, Coach Rogers actually watches what we say.
Yeah, he doesn't have to do that. That's scary. But no, I'm gonna bury the model this year. Ben, I don't even care. Ben can beat me by 30 games as long as I beat the model.
Guys, I have some news here, quick. So we have a follow on the main JI account from the facilities and operations manager for Murray State. That came in
yes,
here.
Awesome.
So
let's go.
Yes, we are intrigued by your horse, sir. Yeah.
Will he
what
or
is your
she?
Horse's name?
I don't want to know if they'll let Brendan ride the horse if he shows up at the home game.
Can the horse go to road games? We have an equestrian facility.
I'm going to follow him back, and we're going to start a dialogue.
If they bring the horse, I will watch the game on my phone from the equestrian facility, and I will live stream the horse running if they score.
I could see Brendan
I'll bring a starting gun and
down
everything.
the horse to get on it. It keeps running away.
Oh gosh,
that sounds like Chad Nunya. None your business.
Just wanted to say thanks to the 600 of you tuning in for this nonsense
on Twitter. Thank you, Twitter bots.
Thanks, Twitter.
Yeah, thank you, Twitter bots.
But
Big
also wanted to say thank you to Culver's of Brookings and Watertown for supporting us since we started sponsorships. Seth and his crew, you guys are awesome. Really appreciate you. Appreciate your cheese curds. Appreciate your butter burgers with cheddar cheese. The curd burger, yep, that's for sure. And definitely the mint Oreo concrete mixer.
Oh, and one other thing, since I know he'll be listening, someday I'll get to appreciate my Scoopy tokens that Ben owes me. I haven't forgotten, Ben. You lost the bet. Pay my Scoopy tokens.
All right.
Get between a Wisconsinite and a Scoopy tokens.
Thanks, Culvers.
Next, that brings us to the FN Hawks. My notes, I had a lot of turnover, both coaching staff and players. They lost Schuster, most of the O-line, and Freund, as we're obviously very familiar with, getting
Big
Sam
pork
Hagen
stool.
and Danny Freund. Shut up, Brendan. Offensive
Or they
mainstays.
focus on the lower regions.
Offensive mainstays, Bo Belquist and Gavin Zebarth will be back. Whatever success they have will really lean on those guys. Wyatt Pedigo is back for their defense. He's their tackle leader last year, but he's really the only one of note. Only other interesting tidbit I had, there's kind of some rumors. With all these kids leaving, are they setting it up? This is a lame duck year for Baba. Oh my goodness. Bubba, they're going to force him into retirement at the end of the year. They actually kind of shortly after that conversation started, he's extended through the end of 2026. So that was my notes on the Fighting Hawks, guys.
That was an interesting move too. So looking at the screen here, on the percentage, the win percentage by number of wins, heavily favors 6 at 43%, 24% chance of 7 wins. I mean, that's where it looks like the model's trending. I don't. Is there anywhere I can bet on this? Because I would hammer the under on that.
Oh, I
mean, hammer the under.
I have them at 6 and 7. So
yeah,
or 6 and 6. Sorry.
I don't think they got a chance of that. I think there's just too much turnover. I honestly have no ill will against the program. I like the program, respect the hell out of that coach. It's going to be tough.
Idaho. Oh my gosh. I had either drink more or less whiskey as we're going.
You are on fire.
I think that Idaho State game is even way trickier than the model's giving it credit for.
Agreed.
Dan Hawkins has now joined Cody Hawkins as an assistant. He's got all sorts of experience and ideas. That offense is going to be kind of crazy this year, I think.
Yeah,
if it wasn't a home game, I would actually bet Idaho State to win that game. They lost a ton of O-linemen in the portal. You lose Schuster. I mean, dude, if whoever takes over the starting job is not good, they're gonna be in trouble. And they cannot afford to start slow. If they start slow and drop like an Idaho State game, it's going to be a really long year.
Oh, they have to win that because, okay, let's go through the schedule here. Iowa State lost. Montana lost. Idaho State, not a gimme. San Diego win. Murray win. If Murray sneaks up and bites somebody, it's going to be that game. But then you go to Fargo, who will be out for blood.
Oh, it's going to be
they might run up 100 points.
They might. Pine Bluff game right there.
Yeah.
So I do want to say, though, about their quarterbacks. I like Trey Feeney. He's one of the quarterbacks that's competing. But I absolutely love Jerry Kaminsky, who is a redshirt freshman out of Illinois. He was someone that I really wanted the Jacks to take. But we got the kid from Texas who ultimately decided not to come here, Caden Brown. Jerry Kaminsky is a stud. And I know when we hired Danny that UND fans were worried that Kaminsky was going to follow him down here. And I would be all for that. Kaminsky's great. So if I expect Kaminsky to win that job, he's going to be young, obviously, but hey, Mark was young at one point too. He's a good player. Jerry Kaminsky is a good player. That's a name to watch.
Did you just throw a Mark comparison there?
No,
he tried to sneak it in.
I'm not letting that slide.
Yeah, I really like Jerry Kaminsky. So if any of the UND accounts are on here, you can snip that at some point. He's a heck of a player.
You guys want some UND content, and sorry, Matt, but just Kelly Howe, friend of the show, runs UND 360. They got some great content on your own. You're looking for more Valley content, you should definitely check those guys out. I'll give them some free publicity. They've helped me out with some stuff before.
Oh, we fight on Twitter about every time we play them. We get in a fight on Twitter.
He loves an argument, but Kelly's a good dude.
I don't dislike him. I dislike him on Twitter, but I don't know. I've never met him as a person.
I'm really interested in what this Su says about the wide receivers that can stretch the field better than Schuster. I mean, right now it just feels like kind of a empty cupboard and a lot of unknowns besides Schuster when I look at their depth chart there.
Well, they've got to have a brand new O-line. that's the problem. Like, even if you can stretch the field
You have
in
time.
the Valley, you can't have a weak O line. And they lost at least what 3-4 guys in the
Lost
portal
3
from the
starters.
O-line?
Three
starters.
starters. Yep.
I mean, did they have any starting O linemen come back even?
No.
Outside, I mean, your fresh O line.
Yeah.
Yikes.
With Freund coming
the
to
Valley.
So Seth Anderson's a starter. I mean, he's that
did he
NDSU
come
transfer. Yep, he's back. And then I think Jack Kuntz has started before, I want to say. So, nope.
Do you think their offense will look the same, with Danny coming to state, or is that always Bubba's?
I don't know.
Well, that is an advantage they'll have early in the season as well, as people aren't going to have film on that offense. That does help. I'm a firm believer that helps when you get a new offensive coordinator in the start of the season. As long as the team's got their plays down and know how to run it, then they've got an advantage over the defense, because the defense doesn't really know how to attack it yet because they haven't seen it. So I think that will help early in the season. But boy,
that's Iowa State and Montana
To start the year.
My heart says they're going to just be terrible. But then I look at the schedule and I'm like, I really could see 6 to 7 wins and I wouldn't be surprised. You get USD at home, and we'll talk about USD later.
USD is going to be fighting for their playoff life at that
That'll
point.
be
I don't think
crucial
the UND
game.
is going. Yeah, I don't think UND is going to be in it then. And again,
UND
this
so much
isn't
better at
trashing
home,
them.
though, and that's their rival game. So
Yeah. All right.
They need a new trophy. Completely unrelated, but I understand why the trophy they had to go away. It was pretty messed up, but they need a new trophy. They should do something fun.
Yeah.
All right.
they could just have a flat board and call it the North Dakota Trophy,
What a trophy.
because that's how flat it is in North Dakota.
With 2 trees.
Yes, on either end of the state.
Yeah. All right.
Suck Lukey's.
I want to start here because I did rank SIU 4th in my poll. But I am intrigued because Nick Baker's gone. Ramir Elliott's gone. The wide
Thank
receivers.
God Nick Baker is gone.
Right. Isaiah Harstrup's gone. They lose a ton. Dune Smith is off to Incarnate Word, their stud linebacker. PJ Jules is in the NFL somewhere. So I'm very intrigued why we are all so high on Southern Illinois right now, with all of the question marks and all of the players the impact players that are gone. It's not just like they were little players. These are primary players on this team.
I think I can start to answer that. Defensively, Jules and Smith were studs, especially Jules. Jules was listed at the depth chart as a safety, but anyone that watched Southern Illinois the last 2-3 years, he literally played at every level. They lined him up, hand in the dirt. They lined him up at linebacker. He would cover receivers. The guy was unreal. So it's hard to replace a guy like that. Outside of Jules and to a lesser degree Smith, their defense was a lot like ours. They're kind of a no-name lunch pail defense. They were number 2 in the Valley behind us, and they were number 5 in scoring defense. They didn't give up points, and they have a lot of those guys back. On the offensive side, it's always a gamble with transfers, but they've done it kind of the way consensus on our network we agree is best. They brought in proven FCS guys. They've got DJ Williams, Murray State. He's had some injury issues, but when he's been healthy, he's been good. He's expected to win the quarterback job. Then they went and got Bradley Clark from Tennessee Tech to be their top receiver. He led Tennessee Tech last year and was top 5 in the OVC. And then last at running back, they went and got Eddie Robinson from Duquesne. He was Duquesne's leading rusher and also top 3 or 4 in the NEC last year. So it's kind of a crapshoot, but they might hit on black and they might be really good on offense. And either way, I think that defense will limit teams enough. They will be in almost every game on their schedule.
Fun fact, Bradley Clark was once committed to SDSU as a linebacker recruit and then decommitted a couple weeks before signing day. So, and yep, well, he wanted to play offense.
Worked out for him, I guess. Can't be mad at him for that. But.
Yeah.
Well, for me with SIU, in my head, I probably could have flipped them with Illinois State and not felt too bad about it. I just believe in Nick Hill, I think, more than Brock's back. Not that I think Brock's back's bad, but Southern Illinois has shown in our time in the Valley, they can win both ways depending on what talent they've had. They've had it where they've won with great offense, and now they've won with great defense last year. So to me, I guess I just have more faith in them coming out near the top just because of that alone. I have faith in Nick Hill being able to bring in transfers, whatever's needed, get this rolling with whatever his strength is and leaning into it. So, and I do have faith in this Murray State transfer quarterback, I think a little more than, some of the question marks maybe that there are throughout the conference. So I think that's why I also had Southern Illinois at 4th in the conference. I think they'll be a fringe playoff team.
No, I was going the same place with that. Nick Hill is a great coach, and we haven't seen him put together a subpar team. He's never put together a bad team, and I absolutely think he can reload. And Alex, thank you for putting together all those transfers. I knew that they had a bunch, but again, just to reiterate there, the fact that you're taking proven talent that has played at the level that you're at, you're not reaching for guys that you think are, I'll use finger quotes again, FBS guys that aren't because they're not playing FBS. You're getting guys that know how to play, that can contribute, probably a little better head on their shoulders. So I think they'll be solid.
And I'm just looking at their roster right now, and I forgot that they picked up Keontae Lewis from Wisconsin. And he actually played at Wisconsin. Like, this isn't just a guy that was a walk-on end of bench kind of guy. He had last year, I guess in 2022, he had 20 catches for 313 yards and 3 touchdowns. So, I mean, he played in the Big Ten and actually had a decent role. That Hezekiah or the Tomorrow Jr., really good player for Charleston, almost 1,000 yards last season at wide receiver. So they may have reloaded that room, and I may have be overblowing the departures that they had. So, hey, good job on Southern Illinois for getting your roster updated, by the way. Good job. Yes. Good job on them.
I know Stone's really high on the transfers. So
speaking of Stone, I mean, he sticks in my head as a guy that was a transfer that Nick Hill just seems to hit on transfers pretty well. Old Stoney, who got replaced by, Southern Illinois' version of Baker Mayfield, but or Johnny Manziel, whatever you wanted to call Nick Baker.
That's giving both those guys too much credit for their height.
Jesus Christ.
Nick Baker, you're ever in Brookings, I'll buy you a beer, but I'll have to hand it down a flight of stairs to you or something.
Alex is talking like he's 6'6".
6'1". That may as well be 6'6" when you're 5'7".
You're right, 6'1". I'm 6 foot.
You're taller than I am. You are easily 6'2" or 6'3".
Get out of here. It is fun hanging out with Stone always, but it absolutely is obvious that he's much shorter than all of us. All right.
Dallas, you're muted.
Dallas, you're muted.
Oh, I was trying to set him up. Matt, I hear we have a new sponsor this year.
Yeah, I'm just looking at SIU's roster right now.
Oh, we're still going.
I'd be thrilled to do this sponsorship.
I'm just lost in their roster because it's all over. There's so many transfers. I'm going to count this tomorrow. And my dig was a little bit at SDSU because they're the last team in the conference to always update their roster. But good job on SIU. Wow. That's a shit ton of transfers. This is like Bobby Petrino, on steroids at Mo State.
Okay, I'm dropping down a couple notches then if he's dropping Bobby Petrino.
Yeah, why did you have to do him dirty like that, Matt?
Right. Wow. So if you've got a ton of transfers, you're probably out putting a lot of miles in, driving around, and your vehicle could get dirty. Brendan, what would you do then?
Well, I wouldn't take it to Silver Star. I would take it to Blue Tide Car Wash because they won't scratch your goddamn car. Blue Tide does a great job, and they clean your car fantastically. Their competitors are a bunch of dicks, and they'll tell you that the scratches were there beforehand. So go Blue Tide. You guys are the best. You should get their monthly. You can save a lot of money on their monthly membership. That's what I have if you live on a gravel road. And then you can wash your car as many times as you want. They do a fantastic job. They even change their brushes ahead of time instead of waiting until somebody complains about a scratch car and then changing their brushes. Because they're good people, unlike certain car washes that have red as the main color. Go Blue Tide Car Wash. suck at red place, and they're blue. Who wants to go to a red place? Go blue.
That's how you really
Go
feel.
blue. Go blue Tide Car Wash.
There's a
I
blue
was
Tide
so
in
I've been
Brookings.
waiting for this one.
Get your
Yes.
wash on the way home
I
from the
know.
game. My wife and I
knew it.
washed my wife's car after church yesterday. That was my poor attempt at reining this back in.
Oh
No,
my
that
God.
was a great attempt. What do we got next after the sock lookies?
I hope it was worth it.
It was.
Ooh.
Rick's gonna send you a text, Matt.
Speaking of red, up next we've got the USD Coyotes. I've got my
Blue
thoughts.
Tide
Who
did
wants to
not tell
start
me
here?
to say that, by the way. That's my personal opinion.
So if I'm still starting here, my notes on USD, they returned 5-11 starters on defense, but the guys they lost were big. They lost All-American and NFL draft pick Miles Harden on the outside at corner. They lost all MVFC D lineman Brendan Webb, and they lost their entire starting linebacker core, including one All-American and two All-MVFC guys. They do, however, have some big names returning in the form of nose tackle Nick Gase, cornerback Shaheed Barros, and safety Dennis Shorter. They added a lot of transfer guys they seem to be real intentional about picking off guys from the Ivy and Pioneer who they think can play. We'll see if that works out for them. That's not me saying it's not. That's genuinely me saying we'll see if that works out for them. Almost all their skill guys are back on offense. Aiden Bauman's back. Running backs Tyson Pierre Jr. are back. Wide receivers Bell and Martins are back. Tight end Galbraith's getting some early draft talk. He's back. The only thing they did lose was running back Nate Thomas, who I think was the best of their three backs beforehand. He went to Idaho, but they replaced him with Montana State transfer Garrett Kuhn. Other notes of being back, transfers, SDSU wide receiver AJ Coons, after being the second leading wide receiver for Western Illinois last year, is now looking to break into the USD rotation. And then a kind of interesting thing to watch from my perspective, the backup quarterback is a huge question. I don't know how much anyone else paid attention to their spring game. My Argus Leader subscription I got their write-up, whatever. Their three backups behind Bauman averaged 1.7 interceptions in that spring game. They had to spin it as a great defensive performance when in reality their backup quarterbacks don't know how to throw a football. They're looking for their first ever back-to-back seasons that end in playoffs and back-to-back seasons ending in playoffs and being ranked. That's what my note said. That is what I had on JSD.
Do you suppose just South Dakota went after all those Ivy transfers because they once considered themselves the Harvard of the Prairie?
Chad, we can only hope.
Was that before or after they had all the grammatical errors on their billboards?
I thought you were going
That was before, I'm
that.
pretty
So
sure.
I thought you're going somewhere else too. I am not. I've been waiting for this
I'm not high on
conversation. No, I've been waiting for this conversation for a long time. Last year on this pod, I picked them. I was the only person out of absolutely nowhere outside of maybe the coaching staff and some of their parents. I picked them very highly in the conference due to their schedule. I picked them to host playoff games, and I host them to win. The only thing that I didn't see coming was that that North Dakota State win last year, but I think that flips. I think this is a 500 team this year at best, and I'll let somebody else take it from there.
Since I'm on Team Dallas here, and I was the other guy that had them lower than most, Portland State win percentage, nice. But
6'9",
beyond that,
6'9".
well, you didn't have to say it. I said nice. That's all we needed to do.
That was the double.
That wasn't me. I want the Podfather to recognize that wasn't my doing.
I'm surprised that we don't have ROT weighing in on that one.
Yeah, speaking of the R. Kelly turf, USD is once again trying to copy everything UNI does, from the dome to how the dome's set up to now their turf. Just reverse the colors and make it look like you didn't copy us, and have a coyote P in the middle of it so it looks like a square. Anyways, all right, this is not me being a jerk. I'm taking my bias out of this as much as I can. I am very much with Dallas just because they were a defensive team last year. I know Todd on the Blue Bloods, if you listen to the MVFC preview that he does with Zach McKinnell, you should. They're great. We love those guys. He very much tried to champion USD's offense as one of the best offenses in the FCS last year because they were efficient, and he's very stuck on that stat. I think he must really love the movie Moneyball because he loves analytics. But yeah, yards per play is what it was. Yards per play, they were like 12th in the country or something. But I think they brought back a lot on offense. They lost a lot on defense. If that new defense doesn't get their footing right away, I can't see this. I can't see this offense being able to step in and switch what they are and what they were good at last year, and that was being a slow tempo offense and driving the ball methodically down the field and playing the field position game. Excuse me. If their defense can't stand up, you need both for that to work. And I'm not sold on their defense yet. And the other thing about USD, just as a program over the years, what I've noticed is they're very momentum driven. If they don't start well, they just crash and burn. It's just been the way it has been. Now, I know Josh Davis has had a massive effect on that program, so much so that they made a special endowment for him to keep him. But that's a different
they're like
topic.
Jackrabbits down there.
Who doesn't?
Manchu guy is their secondary coach.
I have a what? Anyways, I'm not being a jerk. I could see that Portland State game as being absolutely pivotal for them.
Yeah, that's not a gimme.
Because Portland State can score points. It's a weird field. It's way out on the West Coast. Yeah. And teams struggle there. You and I struggled there when you and I was solid. That could be a potential problem. If Portland State starts scoring, I don't know if they can keep up. And if they lose that game, yeah, you beat Drake. But then you got Southern Illinois coming in. If Southern Illinois is what Dallas and I think they're going to be, a pretty solid team, that's tough, but at least it's at home. And after that, boy, I don't know. I don't see them winning at Youngstown. They're just not as good outside of the dome. That's just reality. I mean, they almost lost to Indiana State last year on the road. You know, they're coming to Brookings. They haven't won there since the turn of the century. You know, I could see them even losing at UND just because UND is so good at home compared to what they are on the road. Not saying that I think UND is great, but I could see them being up for that game. And then they're not winning NDSU at home either. So I really have a hard time being optimistic about what I think they're going to be. I just don't. They have to prove it. They've done this enough times where they've been good for a flash in the pan, and then they lose what got them there, and then they don't replace it. So I'm very curious how it's going to turn out.
If you look at Alex's model here with the win percentages, this looks exactly like that. Sorry, who's the last team I called out where he was heavily on 6 wins?
Youngstown?
Illinois State.
Was it
Illinois
State? That was Illinois State. This looks very close to Illinois State. Yeah. The way that this is split. And I think that they're going to fall the other direction. And I think it's more likely. Now it's not, I think another, I said a 500 team, I think 7-5 back into the playoffs. And then, you get a favorable draw the first round. So they could win one playoff game and go 8-6. And I would not be shocked at all, but I don't think that this is like a shooting star, on the rise, going to hit the upper echelon team right now.
Yeah. For me, I'm, I like their offense probably more than you guys are saying, more than I probably should. You look at it and it's a pretty talented starting lineup. Again, injuries though are going to be pivotal in this. At Wisconsin, again, they're going to get beat up in that game. They do not have the depth. And then that trip out to Portland State, like you guys touched on, very similar to you and I's trip. Maybe not all the way to Hawaii, but still, it's a long trip.
I should have saved the Culvers for this one.
And
Wisconsin.
Yeah. Shaheed Barrows, Alex, you mentioned him on Sam Herder's podcast with Jay Elson. Barrows hurt his knee in either the playoff game or late in the season. They don't know if Barrows is going to be back even playing this year.
That will be huge.
So if they don't have Barrows or Harden at corner, that's going to be really interesting. Yeah. So, their safeties are good. but 2 new corners in the Valley, especially with those corners were so pivotal last year, along with the linebackers, along with that the good defensive end that you named. So I do like their interior guys. Nick Gaze is a good player, and then Blake Holden from Watertown. Those are 2 good players in the middle on that defensive line. So, but offensively, I've loved Charles Pierre Jr. I think he's a really fun player, that fun running back. I think he might, if it wasn't for Tice's seniority, I would start him over Tice personally. And then that other freshman they had last year.
Don't do that.
I know, right? But I like Charles Pierre Jr. I like Tice, and I like that other quick little freshman they have. Aiden Bauman, we met him last year.
Good dude.
He's a good dude. He's a good dude.
Great guy. Again, I've said this for how many years now? I think USD's offensive line is going to be improved. They're experienced. They bring in a transfer from Texas Tech that does look like he can actually play. They have some big boys. It's just whether or not they're in shape and can actually play a full game. We'll see.
But if things don't go right for them, the wheels will really fall off, I think.
I'd agree. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to paint the picture that this is the same team that, that there was 10 years ago or whatever. And I guess just reference Zach McKinnell commented in that he doesn't think they're a top 15 team. I think that's worth mentioning because I trust his opinion way more than any of us clowns.
Yes,
right 100%. Now. But again, I don't mean to say that this is a bad team. It's a terrible program as much as I like to joke and rip on the other in-state school. I don't think that they're quite there yet. And I think that last year, again, was a little over-exaggerated due to their schedule, and they got some momentum, and they got on a run, and I don't think they're going to get that momentum this year. They're not going to have that benefit.
And a terrific senior class. They had a terrific senior class last year on defense especially.
My only closing thoughts on that, if they are serious as a program and a fan base of getting to our level, not to sound completely pretentious, but to sound completely pretentious for a second, I think 7 to 8 wins is very attainable. I think pending what shakes out the rest of the country, that will be good enough to get them in the playoffs. Like Dallas kind of talked about that. Dallas and I had talked about that offline. 8-6, 9-6 is maybe not attainable or not unattainable for them. Their fan base should be happy with that. It's the first time he made back-to-back playoffs. It'll be the first time he finished years back-to-back ranked. But with just some of the ridiculous Frisco talk they have right now, I mean, I wouldn't be mad about it if their fan base went in a turtle show. Oh, we only made the second round again. But, guys, come on. You haven't done that twice in a row, ever. Yeah. Hang another one of them little playoff banners for that. You seem to love doing that.
Hey, let's move on to NDSU, and then we can be done. Because we have SDSU. We can do offensive preview and defensive preview in the next couple of weeks. Let's talk about the Bison. Rev. All right, so NDSU, I picked them first in my preseason poll here. Again, the game against us is up there in Fargo. That's kind of what determined it. Miles, my 8-year-old, asked me, why would you pick NDSU to be first? And I said, well, I think NDSU is going to be extra motivated this year. The senior class has never won against SDSU, I don't think, right? For the most part, these true seniors.
I think you're right.
Train. And anyways, they're going to be motivated. Polisek is going to be motivated. He said something, I guess, during Green and Gold, their NIL group. There's been some comments made about NDSU losing so many kids in head-to-head matchups against SDSU recently. And in the Green and Gold thing, he said, if we had wanted those kids, we would have got them. Something, truly NDSU cocky, just like that. So again, he is bringing some swagger back to the program, some "We Are NDSU" that maybe Ents had kind of lost a little bit.
Is that where that hype video came from?
Yeah, right. The hype video. But in all seriousness, Cam Miller, heck of a player. They have some talent coming back on offense, but again, they're Zach Mathis is gone, Eli Green's gone. A lot of their key contributors that were, really heating up that offense towards the end of last season are gone. And I'll let you guys maybe talk about the rest of their guys.
Well, That and their offense is going to look different this year, I imagine. It won't be the same predictability on when we bring the other guy in. Are they going to run every time?
So I can touch on what Matt and Chad both said with my notes here because they both covered a lot of it. That was very interesting. Polisek said in his media availability this week, he wants to bring back a lot of the Kleemanisms. He said they want to get back and falling in love with the process. I don't know if that was an intentional. Yes, Rev, I can't spell. I'm an engineer. I drive trains. I don't spell words. They want to fall back in love with the process. I don't know if that was an intentional or unintentional dig at Entz, but it sounds like he really wants to focus on the basics. And then to round out with what Chad was saying, sorry, I got to pull my notes back open here. He said he doesn't want to eliminate the quarterback run game necessarily, but he wants a running back to lead their rushing this year. He was very intentional about that comment. So once again, don't know if that was a direct or unintentional dig at Tyler Roll, but it was something he said. And the only other note when it comes to the new coaching staff on the defensive side of the ball for continuity, they got a lot of senior guys. They bring back like 6 or 7 starters. I've got it in my notes. I don't want to open it back up to look. But Grant Olson, former player, former linebackers coach, he's taking over his first-year DC this year. He's one of the few holdover from Entz's staff. So I do think their defense will maintain some consistency this year in that regard.
I think overall, you look at their schedule, how it lays out. Before they play us, they do go to Southern Illinois. That's not helpful for them, but they're going to be out for blood. I really think that I have a hard time seeing anybody jumping up and beating them in the conference for sure. I think they go out and beat Colorado. I really do. Same. I think Tim Polisek was a great hire. Yeah, I'm about to. I've been waiting, hearing about how much money got put on Colorado to win that game. I'm waiting for that line to move some more, and then I'm going to just hammer that baby.
I jumped on at 8. That was a good line.
Yeah, I think it's going to end up at 10 or something the way the public's betting, so I'm going to hammer them. But I just see them going through their schedule fairly easily, at least definitely leading up to the marker game, and they're going to have their blood up so high for that game. It is going to be they're going to be desperate out of their minds to win that game. The hate is on the other side of the fence. Finally, back when they used to go, well, we don't hate you guys. Why do you hate us? And it's like, and then I told them, well, wait, you just wait. Someday it's going to happen. You're going to lose to us in playoffs a couple times, or you're going to see us win a title and we're going to beat you in a row or whatever. And it's going to happen. And boy, the shoe is on the other foot, and that's okay. That's great. I think it's good for the rivalry. I think it's great. They're not shrugging off we play for rings now. Yeah, no. The marker means something, doesn't it? So anyways, I think they're going to be wound up and ready to go. I think Polisek is a great hire. There's potential. New hires can always go wrong. I do think he is what they needed after Entz. I'll be honest, I don't think Entz was that great of a coach for them. Not that he was terrible or anything, but I think he got them away from what they were for a little while. And they were starting to get further and further from that. So I think Polisek coming in to bring him back to that will be really good for them. I picked NDSU to win the conference. Because I do think they pull it off in Fargo. I think it'll probably be a close game, and I'm going to go full Matt Frazee and say that they beat us in the regular season, but we'll beat them in the postseason. I do think we're the better team, but I think they're going to win that game. So that's just how I feel about NDSU.
I share all of your thoughts, honestly, like verbatim. Brendan, I picked North Dakota State to win the conference. Exact same thought process. I do believe South Dakota State's a better team. I think that if that game was in Brookings, I would have picked South Dakota State to win it. I think that the 3 points that you're typically going to get on average being at home, I think that's enough. The team that has the ball last is going to win that game. It's going to be a fantastic football game, but I do think the Bison can eke that one out just because, yeah, I think it probably means more to them this year, and then I think the Jackrabbits beat them in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Coach Rogers, please take notes. I think it's really interesting that they have a worse win percentage against us than they do versus Colorado.
Yeah, I got them. Well, it's because honestly, I think both us and North Dakota State are better than Colorado.
Yes.
I think when the season's done, you will see that again. They definitely were last year.
Might both have better coaches too.
I don't think that's a question, and I'm a Cowboys fan.
Well, I think it's interesting. Politik's comments about running back leading the group, because where does that leave
Cole
their
Payton.
Cole Payton, and if it is going to be a running back leading the group, it's not going to be TK Marshall. I mean, TK Marshall is fine. No, I think it's going to be Shamar Brown out of Omaha. That's my pick. He's a stud, so that'd be my pick. We'll see, but I like Breek too. So. All right. That's it.
I got. Yeah, my only other thought on them is they're going to be such a defensive team, and offense is a little bit of a question mark. I'd also take the under pretty much any game they got.
Mm-hmm.
I did want to get just political for a second. We have
what?
Hey, the person that's been running things is officially given up. Who's going to take? Who's going to take over for her? Do the presidents vote on the new commissioner? Is it going to be a valley?
Oh gosh!
I hate you. God, I hate you.
You're welcome, by the way.
Nice.
Whoa.
Well done.
Patty's done a good job in the past. Are we going to get a person just for the MVFC? Is it going to be?
I think Brendan and I are applying as co-commissioners, and we'll see what happens from there.
Right.
Be prepared for the best MVFC ever.
I cannot get into the weeds on this one. We'll be here for another hour, and Ariel will kill
Okay,
me.
fair enough. But keep it in the back of your minds, everybody.
For the grab bag.
It has happened for those of you that haven't caught it. Patty Viverito's done at the end of the season. Somebody will have to replace her. She's done an admirable job at most everything. So maybe we poach from the big sky. That could be good.
Yeah. All right. So next week we'll be back with a preview of either the offense or defense. Maybe a different cast of characters, maybe the same. We don't know. Ben and Jake may join us, so we'll see where it goes. But thank you to everyone that tuned in. Anything else, guys, for the good of everyone that's here?
We will do a catch-all pod at some point of just all the different topics that have happened over the summer, from realignment to Patty being her last year and anything else in between, rule changes, all that stuff. So
real quick, we were super cryptic. The Patty we're talking about is
Patty Viverito, the commissioner of the Missouri Valley Football Conference. Yes.
And the Missouri Valley, both.
No, she's not the commissioner of the Missouri Valley. She's the commissioner of the Patriot League as well.
Oh, okay.
Or not the Patriot, the Pioneer League. The Pioneer League. She is not also the MVC. She's just football side.
Sorry, didn't mean to prolong it. I just realized that if anybody doesn't know what we're talking about, then it would have been very confusing.
Sorry to get political, guys. My bad.
Yeah.
You got me good. I fell for it.
All right. And with that, go big, go blue.
Go Jack.
Jack.